evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the City Advertisement and Promotional Commission's regularly scheduled meeting, June 14th, 2017. All pages and cell phones need to be turned to silent. And do we have anybody here with public input?
What was that?
Public input?
Oh.
Okay. Roll call. Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm James DeVito, 5 Center Street, Eureka Springs. I see on your agenda you have open seat, so I'm going to pitch for my seat on the council, on the commission. I know all of you very well. I've voted for the 4 of you that sit on this commission. I've been a business owner for 30 years. I've got 4 generations in Ozark tourism. I've been elected to office 5 times. I've had as many as 650 people in this community vote for me. I feel I have the confidence of the community. I would hope that I have the confidence of this commission to serve you, because my attitude is what is best for the community, not what is best for James DeVito or DeVito's Restaurant. I feel I do have the qualifications you're looking for. I do have an important topic coming up, which is a parking garage, and I feel that it's important that somebody from this community with authority, and that would be a sitting commissioner, to address this topic. And at this point, I seem to be the only one interested in doing that. So in order to further this project that we've been talking on for 45 years, it would require a seat on the commission to have some authority to approach other cities and ask the pertinent questions about why they chose a parking garage and what the price was and what the details involved in such a project were. So I would look for your support, Commissioners. I know we've worked together well in the past, and I hope to do that in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Okay, roll call.
David Mitchell. Here. Terry McClung.
Here.
Bobby Foster.
Here.
Dustin Dewing. Here. Susan Harmon.
Here.
Ken Kettleston.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Okay.
Ken?
Yes.
Excuse me, just real quickly. Can we amend the agenda? Susan's position expires at the end of the month, I believe. And
that's true.
Can we, if I'd like to put that on there so we can renominate her. And
You bet. Absolutely.
Okay.
We can do that if you thought.
No, we can do it when we get on down.
Gotcha.
That's all right.
Another agenda item, talking under old business, the attendance policy, so because it still kind of needs to be finished.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, so approval of minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any nays? Motion passes. Approval of financials.
The cash balance as of May 31st was $399,875.39. Tax remitted in May, which are April collections. Restaurants, $53,231, down $8,716 or 14.1%. Hotels, $11,185, down $1,270 or 10.2%. Motels, $26,694, down $3,579 or 11.8%. B&B, $5,272, down $1,080 or 17%. Cabins and Cottages, $12,219, up $1,924 or 18.7%. The total lodging for May, $55,370, was down $4,005 or 6.8%. Year-to-date lodging collections compared to 2016 are down $6,676 or 3.3%. Year-to-date restaurant collections compared to 2016 are down $4,973 or 2.3%. Year-to-date total collections are down $11,650 or 2.8%.
Question, Rick. I see your note down there about the 5 Saturdays and 4 Saturdays. What months did that fall in this year? Was March a 5 Saturday or was May?
I think May is
Saturday, or was there?
5.5, isn't it? Or 4.5, isn't it? Because the 30th falls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May 1st was a 'Cause it was a Saturday, wasn't it? Or was it April 1st? Jim, I don't remember. I didn't look.
April 1st was not a Sunday.
I guess I could do what Susan's doing, look at my own, answer my own question there.
April 1st was on Saturday, the 1st of April. So it was a Saturday, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Saturdays in the month of
Yeah.
March, or April, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there was 5 Saturdays in April this year,
That's right.
instead of 4. So, okay. Huh?
And we still crashed.
Yeah.
I think it's statewide. We had I-44.
Yeah,
up
yeah.
north, and
Yeah, I think so.
it is. It's the first time we've had a down month like that in a long time.
I mean, the weather, I think, played a big part in it, regionally and as well as locally. That was a weekend where you were hard pressed to find anything open downtown on a Saturday.
Flood.
Hmm?
The flood day
Yeah, the
weekend.
flood day. Yeah.
State parks had probably their most significant hit ever in April. Half of the state parks were closed. People could not get into them because of the flooding.
Oh.
And I was at the Arkansas Parks and Tourism meeting last week in Bentonville, and there was major discussion about really what had happened. It was a fractured month for collections for the state. So it was kind of across the board. Everybody was feeling, what had happened with the weather. So.
Was there, let's see, I'm trying to find it here now, but, that's different than what I had on the other. Is there anything in the monthly P&L that, expense-wise, Mike, that's glaring, as far as expenses? Let's see, our television ads were big in May. Print ads were big in May as compared to last year.
I didn't see any overages, but
No,
at the
no,
same
no,
time,
right.
yeah.
There's not any overages. But I know, let's see, what was the bottom on that? I did look at that.
I would assume that depending on the act and the rollout and all that stuff, in the next financials next year, we'll probably be looking at some of the distributions, some of this stuff, to see if all of that still holds. Would we not?
So, are you
Possibly.
looking, Terry, to see if there's anywhere, or do you want Mike to put some information?
Well,
in?
I was just curious if there was anything that you did different than what in the month of May out of the ordinary, where you held anything back or?
Well, actually, May was our biggest advertising month of the year.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
We expended more across the board in conjunction with State Parks and Tourism to go ahead and cooperate with them to make sure that we had a robust May and entering into the month of June and July. So that was our biggest ad spend of 2017 at this point.
But it wasn't excessive over 2016, correct?
No, it was not. No, it was not excessive.
Well, the print ads were double, and the TV ads were double, a little over double in the month of May. But I mean,
No.
well, they weren't.
No, they were not.
Is that not what I'm looking at here? TV ads 36,000 as opposed to 16,000.
Are you,
I'm not sure where you're looking, Terry.
Are you looking at the budget one or the regular P&L? They'll be different because
I think it says P&L.
Okay.
It's profit and loss previous year comparison.
Last day.
oh, I got you.
Yeah, it shows the television ads, we spent 20,000 more this year than we did last year. And print ads, 13,000 more than we did last year.
Was there...
Sometimes it can fall...
Well, I understand that. I know, I understand that. And that's the hard thing to figure is... And that's why I was asking if there was anything out of the ordinary that you did to cause these numbers, or it was because it was a 5, well, May wasn't. It was a regular 4-week deal.
Or when is all of that going to go into effect? So did you pay for print ads and television ads for June, July, whereas you didn't last year?
No, we
Okay.
Prepaid.
don't prepay.
So no prepayment, okay.
Right. These are actually actual invoices that have come in.
Yeah, there's no real way to really quantify,
1 month being...
yeah, why one's a little out of kilter.
The only thing that comes to my mind that would be different from last year to this year maybe is our co-op buy with the state. I don't remember what it was last year. This year we've already put it in Southern Living and some other stuff that we've paid for. This only thing that comes to mind is the co-op we did with the state.
Okay.
Could be different, but pretty much.
Does the CAPC do a mid-year review, budget review?
Yeah.
An official one? Okay.
Okay, that was all. I just wondered if there was anything glaring in there for those that...
So when are we doing
kind of
that
the way that
review?
really
Is it next
falls.
month or the month after?
Probably, I think last year we did it in August. Next month would probably be better just because of
Would be the normal month
the
to do
collection
it.
situation.
And if you do it in August, the financials will be up to date as of the end of June. Technically, is what...
July.
Sorry, July.
Yeah, we're only 1 month behind where the
Not
city's
like
2 months.
cities.
Right.
Okay. Right.
Any further discussion regarding the
That was
financials?
all I had. Motion to approve the financials.
All in favor? Any nays? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Staff reports?
I'd ask Andy to give us a 60-second, 90-second overview
Talk fast, buddy.
because Karen is in Tucson at a show, and won't be back until next week. So I thought I'd give Andy a chance to opine on, kind of what's going on with the William Morris Agency and what's going on with those guys.
Got your mic on?
Yeah, I have my mic on. I don't know that I can do anything in 60 seconds, but, well, you mentioned William Morris. So, I mean, one of the things that I'm trying to do right now is, in addition to filling out our 2017 calendar, is to get on the radar with some of the dominant agencies. And William Morris is one of them. And the ability to do that, of course, means first you have to get their attention if you don't know them personally. And some of them I do, and some of them I don't. There's a tremendous turnover, so there's some young new faces that I'm not familiar with. And there's some new agencies. Some have gone by the wayside, and some new ones have been created. So part of what I'm trying to do is generate some attention there, and part of it's getting them to return your call, and the other part is spending some money with them. So we're working on trying to pick up a country act for the last October the Basin Park Music Series through William Morris, so that I accomplish a couple of things with William Morris, and that's get us some country and also get on their radar. In the meantime, we've secured Paul McCandless and Charged Particles for the jazz event in September. Paul is a key member of the jazz group Oregon, which is a very popular group, and has an ensemble that he works with a couple of the Stanford Music Department's professors, and they are well-renowned. Paul is well-renowned in the jazz world, and I should have that whole schedule finished up, I hope, by next week. I'm also trying to create, with your blessing, and I'll bring you a pro forma, I would like to do a small ticketed jazz event in the E-Center, which is and I'm using that name, it's the room above the grotto and downstairs. Event Eureka. Okay, I'll call it Event Eureka.
That's what they call it.
which would be 100 seats. It would be 100 tickets to sell. So I don't have the artist lined up for that, and as a result, I can't give you a projected budget for it. But I think rather than risk, as we talked about, having had some unsuccessful jazz events at the auditorium, I'd like to try it on a much smaller scale, a much more intimate scale, which is what we did with the Northwest Arkansas Jazz Society to help build the jazz program at the Walton Arts Center and around Northwest Arkansas, is start with very small rooms, much like a house concert type environment, and see if we can develop a jazz audience that way. A lot less risk, a lot less overhead, and certainly provides those kind of listeners a very intimate music experience, which we've had some very good success with elsewhere in Northwest Arkansas. To that end, I also would like to put together a working group on the folk festival program. I'd like to breathe some new blood into the folk festival, and to do that, I think I need to get some people within the community to sit down and participate and talk to me about what things we might be able to pull off this year and what things we might like to try to see happen with the folk festival in the future, and whether or not it remains on November 3rd and 4th is not necessarily the issue. Is really what would you like it to be. I've had people say, well, it'd be nice if the festival was as successful as it used to be. It's in its 70th year or 71st year, depending upon how you want to approach that, and I think it's time that it regains some of its stature in the world. And so I'm looking for some people that would be interested in sitting down, doing a little brainstorming. I'm not asking anyone to do heavy lifting, just share some thoughts and do some creative thinking, and what might that look like if we could kind of reinvent that weekend. To that end, I'd like to bring you a calendar for 2018 and the June workshop. That would be the 28th of the month.
Good.
And maybe an overall proposed programming budget so that we can get a jump start on 2018. At least have a rough working idea of what our calendar looks like. I've already prepared one, so I'll send that out to you. And then also what would our overall program budget might look like, so that I can begin to try to nail down some of those significant artists that we'd like to try in 2018. The final thing is I have had some conversations with some of the local promoters, and we have an opportunity, I think, to co-promote with the guys at the farm in the auditorium in September, and we'll announce that when we get that artist contracted. But it's nice to have people interested in working with us here in the auditorium, and that's about it. I know that's longer than a minute, but...
Are we still exploring the possibility of doing something else? Diversity/Folk Fest?
Yes. I have a couple of ideas, and I've already reached out to those agents to see if we've got something that would maybe appeal to both audiences.
Perfect, because those
Which would be perfect.
$2,000 of private funds still exist.
And I need to speak to you about that. We can't get the artists we were talking about for that weekend, but we can probably get them for another weekend, some other time. So I'll come back to you on a private, offline conversation.
Quick question for you. I know last year we kind of, well, I don't want to say we fell flat in December for the holidays. Anything that you see exciting or new opportunities in and around the holidays?
No, but I haven't even thought about it.
Okay,
to be
I'm
honest.
just saying because it's June.
No one mentioned December to me in particular recently, and it's largely because no one's thinking about it that way, but if it's a concern, then we'll start to look at some ideas.
Okay, because I know before we did a couple things that we sponsored during the holidays, but we've kind of written those off, right? Because they weren't real successful. So I was just curious as
does some
to...
things, and the chamber puts on the parade.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious if we had...
Tour homes.
I kind of would like you to think about it, maybe, and
Sure.
And see, since it's already June.
I understand. Time's flying.
It'll go by fast, so...
Be happy to do that. Any other questions for now? Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, old business. Commissioner seat 7 vacancy.
Mr. Chairman, this might be as good a time as any to bring up Susan. Are you going to do her first, or?
Sure.
Well, I just would like to nominate Susan for her spot.
I'll second. Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That was easy.
Okay. Let's still leave the seat open.
I'd like to make a motion that we nominate Carol Wright for seat number 7.
Second.
I'd like to make a motion that we nominate Debbie Davis for seat number 7.
I think she withdrew her application.
Mike said that everything was
She did
the same.
withdraw.
Oh, then you didn't say that. Okay.
I'm sorry, but she did call me.
Well, then we won't
and
nominate her.
She did withdraw her application about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, because at the start of the meeting, you said everything was the same.
Not quite.
Okay.
My apologies.
We had a second, right?
Can we have a second?
Yeah.
She got a
second.
She got a second.
Okay. All in favor?
Do we do a...
Well, there's only one person, so what do you...
Thought, yay or nay?
I think it's yea or nay, and then at this
I
point,
think-
we've
I think
belabored this for a long time.
Let everybody know who votes for what. You know?
So, we're moving forward.
It's
Let's
done.
do it, it's done. Motion passes.
Isn't it?
Well, I think we need to vote.
Yeah.
Vote!
Well,
Yay?
I heard yeas from everybody.
Okay, so go ahead and call, or...
Don't vote.
Gotcha. Okay. So, at this time, I'd like to take a vote for the nomination of Kathy Wright for seat number 7.
Carol.
Carol,
Right.
sorry.
All those in...
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any negative?
Any nays? No? Okay.
I'll get her application to the mayor's office for approval.
She needs to be sworn in.
Well, she's got to be approved by council first.
Right.
The mobile app sponsorship.
We've kind of gone over that.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can postpone the mobile app.
You just came out of that meeting, correct?
Yes.
New business. Mr. DeVito.
The old business, that's...
He did
That
attendance
old-
policy.
attendance policy
You
was...
want to just move it down, let DeVito go next since he came? I don't
We could do
I don't
that, too,
mind.
right?
I don't mind, if you're okay with
I
it.
am totally okay with that.
James, you want to go now?
But we can do
Or
it
do you want to
right
wait?
before the director.
Yeah, do that.
Rick, this is going to be a little awkward with what I've got. Can I stay in your seat?
Absolutely.
If you get your stuff off the table, Mr. Chairman. You too.
Hey.
This thing it's not going to work. Down here, because I got to sit for this. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Strangled.
Wow. There you go. You need a chair?
No,
Well, thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me the time to make a presentation on what I feel is one of the most important issues facing Eureka Springs, and that is addressing the number one complaint that's rendered against us as a city, and that is, where do we park? So let me give you a little history behind it. The conversation started in 1972, so we're 45 years into this conversation. And I think it's high time, given a number of reasons, that we start to address this important issue today. So in about 1995, there was a proposal that went as far as getting the bonding agents here. And if the camera can pull in here, this was the proposal that was rendered for a parking facility at the corner of Mountain Street and Center Street. This is Mountain Street running down through here, Center Street across here. One item that was unique to this structure was the reflection of what was the artist bridge that used to exist in Eureka Springs in the 1800s, Bo?
The Artist Bridge was up by Mount Air, but there was a Sweet Spring Gulch bridge.
Yeah, the one that went over by the Palace Bathhouse and through there. So this bridge, artists would set up on this bridge. So that was incorporated into the design of the original structure that was proposed in 1995. Unfortunately, there was a lot of issues about congestion. Center Street and Mountain Street was not a really good area to put it in because of the traffic in and out of this. The uniqueness behind the idea was the steepness of Mountain Street would allow entrance and egress off of Mountain Street onto the various levels of the parking garage. The community as a whole did not agree to this parking garage, so that was an issue that went down. Let me just give you a few clippings that I've kept about the parking garages that are going on in Northwest Arkansas. Here's one on Fort Smith's parking deck. We all know about the one in Hot Springs parking deck. This addresses the changing traffic, the changing needs of the public and how they address various transportation. That starts out with Americans are using public transit less and relying more on their own car to get to work, often commuting between suburbs. So there seems to be a drop in mass transit. And in the Midwest and the West, we have such a love affair with the automobile, it's hard to get them out of their cars. This is a editorial. And I'll just read you a couple of comments from Mike Masterson, an editorial in the statewide newspaper. And then it starts off, the downtown parking problem in touristy Eureka Springs has been like a chronic fever blister that's caused pain in town every now and then for over 40 years. And until the arts and entertainment community decides to bite the bullet and build a multi-story parking garage to accommodate the town's merchants and historic auditorium, I can promise the matter isn't going away, which is why I'm here today. He goes on to say, I'm convinced Eureka Springs can't possibly take its first solid step toward becoming what many feel it can be until it builds adequate parking for those who come to enjoy it. The crowds of potential patrons simply won't come in numbers that they could, even if the city offers the grandest attraction known to humans, unless they know they'll have a place to park when they arrive. Who knows over the years how many folks have driven an hour or more to Eureka for a pleasant evening or escape only to leave because they had a hissy convulsions trying to find a parking space. How many of those customers never return because of that frustration? Let me just quote. This is from the Donahue Project for Urban Studies and Designs, which is what we consider our master plan. Here it is about locating a parking deck in the historic downtown area.
James, could you give the dates on those as you present them?
These are 1995. Okay. This was the feasibility study for the parking garage, and it states the problem. Eureka Springs is a small community in the Ozark regions of northwest Arkansas. The city has a permanent population of 1,900 persons. However, the community serves as host to approximately 1.25 to 1.5 million visitors per year on a given weekend during the tourist season, and has a temporary population of 20 to 25,000. Tourism is the base of the city's economy, and it is critical to the continued economic vitality of Eureka Springs that essential services and facilities be provided to not only meet the needs of the resident population but the tourist population as well.
What year was that?
That was 1995.
Question real quick. Did
Sure.
that include the feasibility study you called it? Did it also include the financial pro forma of the parking garage, the financial impact? Not the impact, but the financial return?
Well,
Okay.
we never got as far as determining what the financial return
Okay.
on that was. Now I'll go to what you just made reference to, and that is the parking facility needs feasibility study for Eureka Springs. I'm just going to pick out a few things out of here that reinforces what we're talking about. And people are having trouble trying to find this copy, so I'll retain this copy if anybody wants to access it. During the tourist season, and this was a survey that was conducted on 2 occasions during the season in June and August. And it was conducted by Southwest Missouri State University, and they interviewed people on the street, like I said, over the course of 2 different findings.
In what year?
This is 1995. And take note that we did have a slightly elevated number of tourists coming during that period than we presently have. During that period, they came by bus, so that really wasn't a big problem with the parking. But as Lynn Berry from the Chamber in Branson has noted, they are no longer coming by buses. They are now coming by SUVs. So the need for parking is exacerbated in today's environment because we are not getting the people back 46 people per vehicle. They're now 2 to 4 people per vehicle. So the stress on the parking is elevated even with a slightly reduced visitor population. In the survey that was conducted, over 70% of the residents find it difficult to find a place to park. An overwhelming majority of residents either strongly disagree or disagree that there is adequate parking downtown. That's 62.5%.
That's residents.
That's residents. They queried both residents and tourists. 64% of residents think a parking garage should be built downtown. This is a breakdown per, there was about 700 applicants on the one survey. 93% of businesses agree employee parking is inadequate, and 89% agree customer parking is inadequate.
James, I moved here in 1996 in January, and I've always been on the wrong side of town, on the north end. And so there's not 50% of weekends that are busy that I do not see the exact thing that you're speaking about. And I contend I own as much parking as the city does north of the Crescent and the Basin parking lot. There is not enough parking in Eureka Springs, and if we're looking for a new attraction, I think you're onto something.
Well, unfortunately, this commission exacerbates the problem.
Well, let me ask you...
Okay, let me finish, please. Our advertising, our festivals are all targeted toward the weekends. And I understand why we do that. It's virtually impossible to target midweek business unless you're targeting small conventions and business meetings. I mean, it's very difficult. Even during the biggest blues festival weekends, we could hardly get a Thursday night show to perform to standards. I mean, and that is the issue here, that as we continue to promote the community and as we continue to promote our festivals, we're bringing more and more people here on the weekends, and they're having a less than pleasurable experience. Have you reached your point of diminishing returns? I feel that we have.
As those of you who recall when the auditorium had events in it, it was a nightmare for people to find parking.
So, I understand all you're saying, James, and I understand all the statistics, and you shared them a lot, but my question would be, with all of that pent-up demand, all that pent-up need, usually the private industry somehow sees an opportunity and comes forth to develop a garage because it's a good cash flow or it's a good return, and yet, has there been any potential interest? I mean, not because
I can only speak to
John Cross here that definitely knows an opportunity when he sees it down there, and he hasn't built a garage yet. So I'm just wondering, why haven't there been interest by private people to build a garage if there's that big a return?
How many other cities have
There's a-
private garages other than in Arkansas?
I don't know.
The garages that are being built in Bentonville,
Right.
Fayetteville, they are not being built by private businesses. They are being built by the city. I know the city of Charleston is in the business of building parking garages. Here's another one. When parking demand exceeds available spaces, vehicles stack up in parking lot driving lanes waiting for a space to turn. In Eureka Springs' case, vehicles not only stack up in the off-street lots but also on Main Street as drivers stop and wait for vehicles to leave an off-street space. The congestion caused by this interruption of traffic flow is further magnified by traffic circling back and forth along Main Street, Spring Street, and Center as drivers search for a parking spot. There is little doubt of the need to increase the supply of parking to meet the current needs of local residents. Tourism drives the economy of the downtown district, and ensuring adequate parking for the tourist is essential to the well-being of the entire business community that depends on the tourist trade. The community is most likely losing potential revenues from these tourists who become frustrated over the difficulty in finding parking or who choose not to return to Eureka Springs. So, this is what I think is probably the best proposal. I'm going to need a little space for this. This shows you from the auditorium to the proposed site for the base next to the Basin Spring Bathhouse for a parking facility. I used the appearance of the auditorium because it would be in keeping with the neighborhood for such a facility. Now, when I was in Shreveport, I saw their parking facility had the mullions in the windows so that at first glance when you looked up there, it looked like windows, but they had no glass in them. We now have cultured stone like they used at the Community First Bank for a facade, because I would not be in favor of any facility that does not reflect the character of the architecture in Eureka Springs. If you'll notice on the lower level, that's what the city of Savannah did. At street level, they have very narrow storefronts to give the appearance of shops as you're walking down the street. Now, there's a perfect place for tourist information centers and restrooms. Of course, the garage, I would like to see one down and four up to give you 5 levels. If you look next to the facility, the Basin Bathhouse, the pedestrian overpass, you could access that from the second level of the parking facility to even give handicap direct access to Spring Street. It serves 2 purposes. One being that the merchants who are being threatened with internet sales are in a danger, as they are all across the country. We will not be any different than any shopping destination anywhere in America. Our merchant class, I think, is what draws people to our downtown, which is our number 1 attraction, both for the architecture and for the uniqueness of our shops. Since we generate the majority of our revenue on weekends and we're turning away people on the weekends and frustrating the people that come here, that's going to impact the ability of the merchants to make a living, because I would hazard a guess that 70% of that income is generated on the weekends. So if we don't have the facilities to accommodate the people when they want to be here, we're both alienating our customers and running off our customers, because what has occurred in Northwest Arkansas is there is now a plethora of places to go to be entertained, to get good dining. Once upon a time, Eureka Springs used to get everybody from the corridor over here to dine, but now they have good dining facilities. So we're in competition both with Crystal Bridges, Bentonville, the city of Fayetteville, Branson, the casinos. The competition for the tourist dollar has increased considerably in our marketplace, and we should be responsible for addressing the number one complaint that's rendered against us, and that is, where do we park?
Question. I guess where I stand, and it's probably the same where most of us stand, it would be fantastic to have a parking garage downtown. I don't think anybody is arguing that it wouldn't be nice to have a parking garage downtown. It would benefit, many businesses. It would benefit restaurants. It would benefit lodging downtown. I guess I think if I understand the situation correctly, the reason why it hasn't been done is because of funding, which is always going to be an issue. Who pays for it? And how much is it going to cost? And will there be a return, right? So it really comes down to the finances. It's not that we don't all, I would love to have a brand new house, but if I don't have the finances in place, nor a way to create those finances, then I'm not building myself a new house at this point. So really, I don't think, I'm glad that you brought all that information. I don't think anybody disagrees that there is a need for a parking garage downtown. I think it really comes down to how do we pay for it, on whose shoulders is that expense on, and there's other things. Would the city, would the CAPC jointly be able to even be to be bonded on something like that, and at what rating would that bond be put?
The answer to...
Once you get to, A is the best, B is second tier, C and D, by most people, you look at that as garbage. So you have fewer and fewer people who would purchase it. And I'm not trying to be negative or anything, but my question to you, James, is in 1995, that proposal was put together. And you said it was a proposal to see if we could get bonded, or it was a proposal to be presented, or was it presented to the authorities to see if we could get bonding? Where did it go from there?
We were in the process of talking to the bonding agents.
Okay, so we never got a rating, we never...
No, but one thing you have to keep in mind as CAPC commissioners, you're allowed by state law to do three things. You're allowed to advertise, you're allowed to fund parks, you're allowed to build convention facilities and parking facilities. The shortfalls in the revenue that the parking facility would generate would be insured by the revenue stream of the CAPC. So the revenue stream would be guaranteeing the bonds, and since there is no encumbrances on the revenue stream of the A&P right now, I'm assured that it would be well within qualifications to be bonded, and I don't know what rates the bonds would be at.
Well, I would like to see some information, and if that's a process that we decide that we want to go through, I would like to see what the requirements would be. Because thinking, would we be able to do it just on CAPC revenue stream? Or would the bonding agent say, okay, we're going to take into account the city as well?
No.
You shake your head.
I know from having sat on the council for 5 terms what the bonding capacity for the city is right now.
I would like to see that information, if that is what we decided to do.
So let me ask you this. Would you appoint me as an ex officio member of the A&P so that I can approach these other entities to see what takes?
We haven't even decided if everybody agrees whether or not to even go the next step.
Well, I have a concern, not a concern, but I have a statement, and I understand the issue about the city and all that stuff, and I would say that that's probably nil for sure at this point.
I'd like to see it.
And you should, absolutely. Yeah. But my concern would be when James was presenting this, he talked about a lot of the benefit for the merchants downtown and the change in the internet and all that stuff. And if we're even going to think about this parking garage and encumbering the revenue of the CAPC, let's remember that the revenue of the CAPC rests on the back of lodging and restaurants.
Right.
Wouldn't it be interesting to see if the merchants in this town and did a complete across the board where the merchants were interested in then contributing also to the CAPC revenue stream to support the parking garage to make the bond indebtedness look better? I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, but state law will not allow collection of merchant tax to the CAPC. The only reason that law existed was because of the Eureka loophole, where the state legislature actually crafted specific legislation to the city of Eureka Springs. In 2007, we changed and we went with the rest of the state on our A&P legislation, and that only allows for restaurants and lodging. Now, don't forget, Andy, is it? We have Andy sitting here, who you just hired onto the A&P, who's trying to make the auditorium a viable entity, and you have a 950-seat auditorium with no parking. So
But it still does come down to cash, right?
There's a twofold approach here that you're not going to see the increase of revenue. You might in the collection. No, you won't see it. Yeah, you would see it in lodging and restaurants. You would see it also. The merchant would be reflected in the general revenues, sales taxes. But
I think
we don't have a parking authority anymore. Even in '95, it was still the A&P that was going to be backing the revenue, backing the bonds with their revenue stream.
So let's ask our finance person, how much is the total revenue of the CAPC annual? 1.5? 1.5.
Well, that's our budget this year, but we haven't...
That's a budget issue, that's not an actual. So
Last year was what, 1.3?
137.
So 1.3 revenue, and we know most of that's gone as far as advertising and operations and everything. So the actual amount that could be used to indebt us for bonds, that would be pretty
What percent?
significantly small.
What percent would they...
And what is a
bond us
parking
at?
garage like that going to cost? 4 million?
More than that.
How many
5
parking
million?
spots are we
I'm just
looking
trying
at?
to put some logic here to see if it's...
I mean, how many spots were originally in that parking garage?
Well, that was a totally different site. This proposal is for the site that's just less than a half a block down the street here.
How many parking spots were in that proposal? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I think
Okay,
it was
and then
maybe
that's-
150 in that site. This site is slightly bigger than that.
And then, are you done, David?
I'm finished.
Okay, I have a couple other questions. When did the trolley system start?
77.
Oh, so it's been going quite a while then. Okay. All right, and then, okay, I think I've asked all of mine then.
The one benefit you have right now is the fact that Mike is your director and served as mayor of a community that went through some rather large projects. So there's an added benefit by having Mike sitting here at the table.
Well, James, I hope that you don't think that, we're totally against the parking garage, because I think everybody would love to have a parking. I really believe that everybody would love to have
Only two of you
it.
are speaking, though. There's 3 others here.
Well, I'll defer to the statistics, and I would encourage everybody to read this, because it does have some good facts and figures. And I think lodging owners were up about 80-some% in favor of a parking garage downtown, because anybody in the business here in Eureka Springs understands that as the downtown prospers, then everybody in the community does. And I just keep going back to that one thing, that we're driving off our people because we don't respond to the number one complaint that's levied against us. And I hope that the Commission will find it in their wisdom to put this as an agenda item so that we can get the facts and figures. Because I feel this is an important topic, particularly at this point in time. And remember, Commissioners, that you incorporated the parking garage into your proposal as recently as last year, when we were talking about the city sales tax.
Correction, James. You did that. on your own?
No, I'm sorry. There was a vote, and we incorporated it into the working document that was presented to the city. I did not do that by
Was it a
myself.
draft? I think there was a
I
draft
don't
posted.
think we ever voted on any such thing, personally.
Yeah, I think it was still a draft, James, but it was posted online. So
Well,
we
it was
review
it was given to the council as a working document from this commission, and what I wanted to stress in that we were looking at a savings of $100,000 on operation of the auditorium. In just the last year, we've already increased our budget by $150,000, so we've already made up what would have been our proposed savings if that tax had gone into effect. That pretty well covers most of the topics I had.
Let me make a recommendation that we do two things. Well, number one, let's go ahead and provide, and Rick, I think this is what we can do out of the Municipal League Handbook, exactly what the capabilities of the CAPC are in regard to facilities creation. And that includes parking garages, convention centers, and other things like that. There's a fairly lengthy paragraph in that, and I think it would be probably good for the commissioners to know what that is. The second thing I would recommend is that we do contact a bond firm, probably out of the Little Rock area, to visit with us and give us a little bit of insight as to what the potential is. And I think Susan's right. There's categories for grades from A+ to A to B down to junk. And I think we would be wise to understand where we sit today based upon our finances in reference to what kind of grade we would get out of that. The length of the bond could be 20 years,
20 years,
15 years, could be 20 years, or 10 years. But generally speaking, it's an opportunity to go ahead and forecast out revenue stream over an extended period of time. I do have one question, James, and this is something that just popped into my mind. With the income potential of a parking garage, is that going to be something of income that the CAPC would derive to use? Or would that be another function of the police department to go in and seize the meters?
Well, during the financing of the facility, those finances would go against the bond. So for that financing period of, let's say, 20 years, those monies collected through parking revenues or fines would go against the bond. I would like to see at the end of 20 years that the facility go to the city, because as you well know, the city is in dire straits trying to generate revenue. The 60-some meters we have now, with fines and everything attached, generates about $200,000. If we're able to increase our parking capacity by 3 to 4 times, that could be a substantial revenue stream for the city of Eureka Springs. You would already be off the hook after 20 years, so that you would be receiving the benefits through your advertising, putting people in parking spaces that were not there prior to that. The one benefit of going at this project at this time is because under Mike's direction, we've had a good 4 to 5 years of about 6 to 7% increase year over year. We also have the ability through social media to get the word out at a rather reduced cost from conventional print and television advertising. You could also use this as a pretty good PR device that we are listening to you, and we are under the process of building something you've wanted for a long time, and please come back.
Made in Eureka.
So I think it's an idea that should be further investigated. I appreciate Mr. Maloney's comments about getting the pertinent people here so that you have more information to study this issue But don't forget that this is an issue that we've been dealing with for 45 years, and this is the only body that has the ability to do anything about it. So it is a serious issue, and I appreciate the time you've allowed me.
That is Mr. Epley's lot, correct?
Half of that,
Half of it is Mr. Epley's
Correct.
lot. Who owns the other half?
the city.
Okay.
So we already own half the lot.
So he would have to be willing to sell his portion.
He would have to be willing to a point, and then beyond that point, you get into eminent domain. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, James.
Thank you. Okay, auditorium.
It's Rick.
Okay. Did you have the law on that attendance sign? Oh, that was at the very first. Yeah, but we can come back around. You're welcome. No, we can wrap it up and we can get, yes, you didn't hear it. Don't have a problem with this.
I put the auditorium on the agenda this time just because I wanted to get the word out that we're down to one volunteer. And you can't run a 1,000-seat theater with no staff. If the community doesn't step up and volunteer, we can't put on shows.
What is it you need? I mean, this is the first I've heard of anything.
Ushers is the main thing. I mean, when you have 600 people in there, you have to have fire-trained staff on hand to usher people out if there's an emergency. And it's just dire at this point. We operate the auditorium with one contract labor company, the sound company that we use. We have one part-time employee that does concessions, and myself, which is there whenever something's going on. But it's going to take volunteers, and I just put this on there just basically to get it in the papers that if everybody wants the auditorium busy, but if it's going to be busy, we're going to have staff. I mean,
How many does it take?
for a typical event, 5 or 6 is a good number.
Can you get the sign up software? It's free. Can you post that?
Absolutely.
Just post something on there so people know when events are happening, and so they can sign up for that slot, even if it's an hour at a time.
Right.
Because a lot of people aren't going to call you.
Right.
And
Well, see, right now, Sarai calls. We have a book of people that have been volunteers in the past, and she calls.
Yeah.
We bring people from Gateway that have been volunteers ushering for a long time, but they're both getting elderly and
But
back braces
there is
and,
the software that will actually send them a reminder email and remind them they've signed up for whatever, and I mean it's
And
most of
another
them are
thought
free.
that I had too, we provide the auditorium at such a cheap rate for nonprofits. I think it should be mandatory if you're going to be able to rent the auditorium for your nonprofit at such a cheap rate. You should have to have volunteers help with other events. It's never a problem to get ushers and volunteers for a B.B. King concert or Van Halen or whatever. But you put the Ozarks Chorale in there or the high school play or whatever, you're lucky to get 1 or 2 people that are willing to volunteer for that.
That's a great idea, that if the volunteers get it at a discount rate, then they need to also tell you who all's going to be ushered and absorb that.
The chorale, there are some of them that provide their own.
Yeah.
But most of them don't, and most of them don't help other than when they're there. So
Good point.
it would just be a policy thing, not beat you over the head, but if you're going to be able to use the facility to raise funds for your nonprofit, you should volunteer time.
Can you craft something like that so we can look at it? I mean, I think that's great. I mean, yeah, they need to. And
we've got enough
I need to.
with
Good point.
1,000 seats and no parking. I mean, we're behind the 8 ball already, so we really we already lose $200,000 a year on it at this point. We can't hire staff. I mean, we're just going to be that much farther in the hole, so.
Or you
it's
have
gotta
to
be a
pass that
voluntary
cost on to the user. The
But,
promoter has to
but
pay that
the
cost.
problem is you can't rent it.
I understand.
The users won't pay a decent price to use it because there's no parking.
Oh, parking.
It's always an issue when a promoter calls me and, you know, they're looking at ticket cost and, you know, you've only got so many seats and it's tough. We talked about, you know, buses, you know, running them to Plainer Hill or Pine Mountain.
I'll have a cost
But
on
you
that.
get
I
another
already know the
$150
cost
an
on it.
hour for the bus, you know, it's just another added cost that the promoter doesn't want to shell out. So it's a tough venue. It's a tough venue that we all want. And we all want to be full and have stuff going on all the time, but the more you have going on, the more it costs. Especially with no volunteers.
Especially when you're giving it away.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my 2 cents for
Thank
today.
you. Attendance policy. So we're coming back around, and I think, wasn't somebody looking at the municipal league? And
Well, the municipal league shot back to us, basically as I called it last time, chapter and verse, which is incumbent upon the city council to go ahead and establish what is appropriate for each commission. So in other words, we can make a presentation to the city council as what we think is the appropriate attendance policy. It's presented to the city council, and then they have the authority to go ahead and say yes or no. So I think what we are, is that what you see, David?
Well, but then we got what Rick said, and when we had the city council meeting, we discussed it. And so I think our discussion at that point was that the CAPC could go ahead with their attendance policy. They had the jurisdiction and the right, and it wasn't dependent upon the council. But there are other commissions, like the planning and everything, that probably would follow what you said. That was my understanding.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for the clarification on that. No, I think you're on that.
Okay.
So basically, we need to go ahead and put that on paper and then establish that policy, then distribute that to the commission so that all is aware of it.
I think
I can send you
if I understood it right,
Okay.
Scan it and send it to you.
if I understood it right, because the city council puts them on, that it's same as taking them off, that we have to make the recommendation to the city council. And then,
That we're taking them off,
Yeah.
that person off for this
Right.
reason.
and we're going back to what we voted on. It's three.
Essentially.
Bringing them
Yeah.
here. Is that right?
Three
And we
regular
didn't
meetings.
distinguish we didn't really get into that excused, unexcused. We just...
No, it was three, as I remember. And
I think
and not
it
workshops
needs
not
to be
included.
three.
Three
I
meetings
think
and workshops not.
it needs to be three unexcused. I mean, there can be reasons that,
Well, what's excused? Then we got to define what's excused, don't we?
Yeah, but if somebody missed 20 times, eventually nobody's going to excuse them.
Say somebody's going through a bout of cancer treatments for 3 months and just can't. I mean, there are circumstances which...
Well, how do we define? I guess we say. Couldn't you say then that a commissioner could present their reasons for attendance, and the commission could accept that? Is that a way to get out of it?
Commissioners, whether they voted to...
Would that work here?
Yeah, I think it's down anyway.
Would that work?
Sounds like that would work. If we have to vote the law, well, then we could certainly vote to keep somebody based on circumstance.
Consideration
Sounds like.
per case.
Okay. Fair.
I mean, I would just hate to think that if I missed three and I had pretty good reasons, and I had to miss a fourth,
Say bye.
It's over.
but I guess if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. I mean, I don't miss very many.
Well, and then there
I think
comes
I missed
the
it.
other stipulation of, could they get rid of a city council appointee? Because you guys are different than everybody else. I mean, I don't know that this commission could get rid of a city council
Yeah,
appointee.
actually, if we had done it, you could send back to city council that you want to drop us from it, and they could vote somebody else on. Same thing. Yeah. So you could get rid of us, I think.
Not that I want to. I'm just...
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we're equal to say.
yeah.
Okay.
Commissioners.
So we get some work to do there?
Yep.
Sounds like. We have two folks who came for public input but did not hear me ask for that, and so I'm going to allow them their 3 minutes. 3, Sorry, Bob. So, Teresa.
Hello, my name is Teresa DeVito. I am a business owner in Eureka Springs, and I do experience firsthand the massive need for parking in our city. I don't think we should wait. We should base our decision to move forward or not move forward based on the fact that a wealthy person in town has not recognized this opportunity. That seems ridiculous to me. I would like to see the CAPC get things in motion to determine whether or not we could finally get this facility built. After 45 years, let's quit waiting for someone else to do this and make it happen if we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have anything written.
Oh, go ahead, ad-lib.
I'm Dina Landis, I moved here in 1974.
Dina.
Oh, okay.
They record
What to
this.
talk about? I don't mind.
For the TV.
Happy to say that two of my first bosses when I first moved here have been mayors, Bo and Butch, both I've worked for. But I opened my first retail shop in 1984, Pastimes, and we operated that toy store for 23 years. And then I moved to Small World, which is a gift shop, and that was operated for 8 years. And I'm now moved down to Center Street, and I hope I can go on with that. I hear complaints all the time. And I know that there have even been people who are delightful saying, that's it, we're done. But it's not just the tourists, it's us. Locals also do not want to come because it's aggravating. Oh, we never go to town, don't come to town, let's get people visiting. There's no place to park, we can't do it. And I think we are really losing. And the way this economy is now, I think particularly retailers, I don't know, we have some fabulous restaurateurs. I don't think Mud Street ever does badly. They're the best, you know. It's just like, but we're really hurting. And I don't blame the chamber, I don't blame the council, I don't blame the CAPC. I think everybody is doing their best and really reaching out to bring things in. I'm not even sure it's the events. Like, you know, Bentonville and Fayetteville have music. They have a lot of this stuff. You know, they don't need to come here to do that. They come, I think, a lot to, although I love Jazz Fest, I think they come a lot to Eureka for the historic buildings, for the friendliness of the town, for the intimate restaurants, for the eclectic shops. That's what I hear. And sometimes half the time they don't even know what's going on, really. Not to ever say don't do events, I think is great. But let's make it easier for these people and for us personally to park and to be here. And I think it would improve everybody's financial situation. I would say please don't let this disappear. Ask all the questions, do all the research, but don't let it go another 30 years. Because I think we are going to go down, personally, having watched this. Please help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Bo?
Bo Satori, nice to see you all again.
Technical difficulties. I don't need a microphone, but I'm sure the cameraman might.
Truly 3 minutes.
Can you hear me now? All right. One thought that occurred to me and that I've been bringing up for about the last 15 years is in the 70s and in the 80s, we had 27 wreaths for our Christmas decorations on Main Street and Spring Street, which looks very nice. And that's all we had for years. And then in the 80s, we put up the lighting on the buildings and lit up the buildings all the way from the Cat House, all the way down up Spring Street, past the Palace. It was all lit up. Every building was outlined. CAPC paid for the repairs to the lighting and putting up the wreaths every year to a tune of about $15,000 a year from Christmas. Every budget. I'd say about 17 years ago, I counted the poles around the loop, and there's 200 poles. And I thought, well, we need more pole sculpture, because we only had 27 wreaths. And so we ordered 27, 28, I think, snowflakes, and then the shooting stars. And we got those because they were $125 a piece. And that was affordable. It was still a lot of money at that time. And so when we put those up, then we got some decorations that were strewn down the hill behind the Passion Play, and Public Works repaired those, and we hung those up, big multi-pointed stars, and we did what we could to really improve everything. Well, by 2006, and after that, I did not see the wreaths up for almost 10 years. And I never saw the snowflakes or the shooting stars. And I would come to a council meeting every fall and ask them, where are the wreaths? And they had no idea. I would talk to employees. No one knew where they were. And I would tell them they're actually stored under the bathroom next to Chelsea's. But nobody had a key. Year after year that would go by. So in the last year, we had Parks come in, and they got up 19 of the wreaths. They were repaired. There's some new lighting on them. That was a good thing. I don't know whose budget that came out of, but Parks is the least, and the city is the least able to pay those bills because they have more important responsibilities. None of the snowflakes came up. The shooting, well, no, maybe the snowflakes
There
were
were shooting stars and snowflakes this
Okay,
year.
there was 19 of each, because I counted. There was only 19 of each. But, and the reason I say all that is to give you an idea that, we took down all the lighting off all the buildings and never came back. We took down half the pole sculpture, and they've never come back. We've only recently started putting them back up at all in the last couple of years. I get email every month from Branson talking about what they're doing for Christmas. They're talking about deals that merchants can come in and get discounts on lighting and get discounts on trees and ornamentation. They push the Christmas decorations with their merchants every month. I used to go down to Natchitoches in April and meet with the mayor down there, and they would have all of their black craft paper out, and they would be designing the Christmas lighting for the city and for the fireworks for New Year's Eve. Everybody started working on Christmas in the springtime. We haven't done anything in 15 years. The city has never looked worse at Christmas time than it has over the past decade. Even with the little improvements we've made in the last couple of years that Parks has stepped up to participate in, this commission is not promoting Christmas in Eureka Springs. We used to do $50,000 in advertising for Christmas, as well as having, Andy was asking about shows in the auditorium. When we had Bill Cosby, pardon the pun, we paid him $100,000, and we made more than that in ticket sales. We were promoting the city with events, with lighting, with advertising. We haven't done any of that in a decade. So I would like to see you get onto the promotion aspect as well as the advertising. Thank you.
Okay. Mike, you're on.
Okay. I'm going to try to condense this a little bit because I actually have a lot of material here, and I don't want to bog this thing down into a lot of stuff. So I'm going to kind of breeze through this because there is a bunch of material. First of all, just to go ahead and cement the fact that we are making a change into our millennial groups. Again, our demographic analytics show that we are doing very well in the 25 to 34 category. They are number one. And the only thing that really has probably changed is there's a little bit of skewing in the 55 to 64 demographic. But on the same token, we're doing, I think, what we should be doing because we're kind of de-emphasizing the youngest and the oldest demographics in our advertising. So I think we're spot on with what we're doing at this point. On the second page, overall results for spring, for EurekaSprings.org, you can just take a look at those numbers. We went from 29,964 in April to 35,000 sessions in May. So everything is up respectably for the month of May, so a lot of more interest is come into EurekaSprings.org. Internet usage was robust. 73% of our viewers were first-time visitors to Eureka Springs. In looking at the game ball tracking, we targeted the cities of Chicago, Minneapolis, and Austin, Texas. Chicago was very good. We got 61,000 impressions. We had 3,640 results. In other words, people actually looking at the ads and making a statement to go through and look at them further. In Minneapolis, we went out with 36,000 impressions, had 1,970 actions. In Austin, 1,934 impressions with 1,110 actions. What we did with this particular program is we sent them to mountain and off-road road biking enthusiasts in these locations. And what we did for a landing page is we redirected them to EurekaSprings.org and then specifically over to the Eureka Springs Park website to their maps of Lake Leatherwood. And we saw the Lake Leatherwood statistics in our analytics go up to number 2. So it was a very successful promotion. What we're going to do in July, and our game ball is Denver, Orlando, and San Francisco. Made in Eureka Springs is coming together fairly well. We've got 3 videos in the production at the moment. One is Great Art is Made in Eureka Springs. Great food is made in Eureka Springs, and great clothing. Also some historic pieces that are coming together, which include the history of Eureka Springs art, starting with the Friends, and then all the way up through the Eureka Springs School of Arts. We're doing a little bit of a summary on the opera and the Ozark Summer Camp music, and the history of the Folk Festival, which includes some historic vintage footage we found that's wonderful in black and white from the 1940s. So over the next 3 months or so, we'll be making these videos available for preview prior to the launch, and I'll send those out to you individually. Right Mind, our ad agency in Fort Smith, is going to be here this weekend. They're going to be shooting a lot of content for both video and still productions. A lot of new B-roll of music at Basin Spring Park. We're doing some family video with mom and dad and some kids. We're also doing some new LGB photography for use in the Gailey and other LGBT publications. Might stress that one of the things we're doing at LBGT is we're looking for LGBTs with families. And we've identified 2 males with families and 2 females with families that we're going to use throughout the town. Number 6 was Andy Green's report, then Andy went on with that. I'll be meeting with the new chamber exec coming up in a couple of weeks. This is kind of a lunch to get together, and I understand it's going to go into a little bit more of an in-depth later with the executive committee of the chamber. They'd like to drill down into some things as they go forward. The 4th of July activities coming together very nicely. All the divisions of the city working together, fire, police, transportation, and parks. Just as an FYI, trolleys will be doing free shuttle to Lake Leatherwood starting at 5 o'clock on Sunday night. This is free. And they'll be doing that shuttle until 11 p.m. to get people back. So they'll be starting at Pine Mountain. They'll be going down to Plainer Hill, up to the 62 location, over to the community center, then over to Lake Leatherwood. And they'll be doing that route continually.
So despite 4th of July is on a Tuesday, we are doing our fireworks on
Sunday night.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're excited about that. We've got a remote and spots with KESA. KESA is going to go ahead and choreograph the fireworks. They've got the Overture of 1812 or something like that. You'll be able to turn on your radios out there. Then they're working with actually the people that are setting off the fireworks. When the mayor can't, I step in to welcome groups to Eureka Springs. It's something that Bush is busy a lot of the time, so he calls me up and says, "Can you do this?" And I'm doing that on Friday with regional postmasters that are going to be here in town for a convention over the weekend. They'll be here starting on Friday, and they'll be talking about issues in regard to their world and postage and what that means. Of course, you know the Eureka Springs Blues Weekend starts this Thursday, tomorrow, and I think it's going to be a great weekend. We've got a wonderful lineup, and the CAPC's had a very good, successful group of meetings with the overall players during the past month to help promote and disperse information on the acts and venues throughout town. That includes not only the RAGs, Turpin Creek, but also what's going on at the Basin Park Hotel, Chelsea's, Pied Piper, the E-Event Center. There may be one I missed in there, but we're really working together cohesively as an organization to make this should be a pretty good opportunity. We developed some really little pocket cards that we've distributed throughout the town and all to all the major lodging properties and restaurants. It's just something you put in your pocket that gives you a location and a time and where all these activities are going to be at.
Is there a spot we can get these?
Well, we've got a few more, and Andy will go ahead and give those out to you.
Thank you, Andy.
As much as possible.
Are these available at the CAPC office?
Yeah.
Well, there's not many left at the CAPC office because we had interns on the streets
I got 10.
distributing them around town.
Yeah.
I will have some more. We'll have an information tent at the Basin Park on Friday evening, starting about 4 o'clock. We'll have a few more there, but we put a street team out that tried to distribute them equitably around town. Cool. And this was a cooperative effort. Pardon me? Excuse me?
Did the street team know to come by hotels?
They were supposed to go by hotels and restaurants and some of the retail shops.
We also send
They
out
don't do the B&Bs or the smaller places. You have to
They
be a
did
major player.
Some of the bigger
or what?
B&Bs.
We did an e-blast on Thursday to all the collectors.
This is the first time I've heard or seen them.
No, I did see the e-blast.
Yeah.
That was helpful too.
There was
So you can print it out if you wanted
all
to.
collectors during the week.
Dropped off 400 of them at my house.
I shared the
Yeah,
on the email. I just saved the photo. But
A bird wall.
for the guests as they check in, to have it in their pocket, it's great. So, good idea. Just want to make sure everybody's got them.
Just some interesting data that I did not put down. This is sort of late material, but I wanted to go ahead and give you a little bit of a highlight of what's going on. Our May Southern Living ad already generated over 400 initial response for literature from Eureka Springs, and that's going to go on. So we may be pushing 1,000, 1,200 requests for our Southern Living. Consequently, Garden and Gun will start moving the requests to this month. Last year we had, over a period of 3 months, nearly 700 requests throughout the South and Southwest. The majority of department heads, including the CAPC, attended an HR seminar in Fayetteville last week. This was an all-day meeting focused on a variety of can-dos and can-nots for employers, and it was a very comprehensive meeting that will ultimately provide, I think, some substantive information for the entire city. It was a good seminar to go to. 2 Northwest Arkansas radio groups are courting Eureka Springs for aspiring country talent for the fall. One is iHeartMedia, and the other one is Coyote Group, making contacts to help promote a big concert in Eureka Springs that may come about in October. But Andy is also working with some independents from the William Morris Agency, so we'll just kind of see how that goes. I went to the Arkansas Parks and Tourism meeting last week, which is the big meeting for the commissioners at the Amazium in Bentonville, and was announced as having a significant part in bike tourism for Northwest Arkansas. I was very pleased. Our bicycling ads hit simultaneously in Bike Magazine National as well as Bike Arkansas. Both ran in May. While indirectly related to tourism, this is kind of an interesting thing. This goes back to the Mayor's Economic Organization. Last week, Windrock International came to Eureka Springs to meet with the mayor, Sandy Martin, and me, and a brand new lawyer, Catherine Baker, from an organization called the Grainster Group. Keep that on the top of your mind. Grainster is seeking to put a call center into Eureka Springs with employment estimates of 200 personnel that will be working a call center basically concentrating on farm-to-market deliveries on a global basis. They're
So
going...
is the company Granger?
No, this is Grainster.
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 Because there's a Granger.
They will be back in town on July 7th through the 9th. They want to have that facility here in Eureka Springs.
Oh, that's wonderful.
The jobs start at $40,000 up to $100,000 in income. So it is going to be a...
Profession?
Gonna have a
Hotel business is finished.
substantial impact, and they apparently got their salt together on this. Windrock was very impressed with them, and we're also making a connection with them through the Small Business Administration in Fayetteville.
So, quick question. Eureka Springs is vying for that business.
We are doing everything we can to encourage them to come here.
And how many people are in that hopeful list? How many cities?
Right now, it's just us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they love Eureka Springs and want to be here.
Good.
So it's a good fit. A lot of general activities that we've been working on in conjunction with our marketing support assistants. These include the Antique Automobile Festival in September. We're helping them with their PR and strategy to welcome the general public. We don't generally get real involved in what these organizations do when we give them money, but this time we felt like it was a good stroke. We're also doing the same thing with the Fat Tire Festival, helping them with billboards, some other artwork, and assisting them with their advertising support and radio. The mayor and I, plus a small contingency of local business owners, took advantage of a recognition opportunity and ceremony to honor the 10 top businesswomen in Northwest Arkansas. This would have been typically gone to 10 women in Benton and Washington County this year, but we felt compelled to submit Sandy Martin to the Arkansas Business Journal, and she was selected as one of the 10 most influential businesswomen in the region. There's going to be a ceremony on June 27th at the Fayetteville Botanical Gardens. So if you see Sandy, you might congratulate her. Finally, we're moving steadily with fan recognition in Facebook and Instagram. In May, we went up to 66,635 fans. We picked up a total of 1,086 from April. The number of times a video has been viewed due to organic reach has risen from 1,174 new hits in May. And it's a big number just because it looks interesting. 708,000 people saw a sponsored story or an ad pointing to our unique page. And Facebook considers these viewers as unique viewers. So 750,000 people had exposure to what Eureka Springs was doing during the month of May. So Facebook continues to really grow. I wanted to go ahead and share with you, this is sort of the information that we get out of our pictograph, a little bit of information. I'm going to let you take that with you. As opposed to going over it tonight, you can take kind of a peek at where we're going with things, where our fans are, and so forth. So I won't go ahead and dig into that. I did want to go ahead and give you scripts that are being put together for Right Mind Advertising. It's going to be up here shooting this week. And you've got one of the first videos, but I also have 2 other ones. And Susan, would you start that around? We've got 3 different videos they're working on. And these are all going to go in. These are 30-second videos, and these will be made in Eureka Springs. We're concentrating on some generic type of things that don't necessarily specify any one particular individual's organization. So those are going to go into progress pretty soon. I gave you a little bit of information about our Facebook, which is a couple pages over, just so you could see what we did in Illinois, Minnesota, and Texas.
Okay.
And Facebook has changed its analytic view window. It kind of changes almost every month based upon, I think, their whims. And if we look at what has happened with Facebook, We had 6,100 people, 61,000 people in Chicago take a peek at us with 3,640 results. In Minnesota, 36,000 people with 970 results. And in Austin, Texas, 19,348 people with 1,110 results. What we did with these Facebook ads is we oriented mountain biking and off-road biking to these people to get their interest. So this was a very honed-in, segmented group of people. And what we did is we redirected them through EurekaSprings.org and our events calendar straight over to Eureka Springs Parks and Trails, so they could actually see the Lake Leatherwood trails and what they look like. And we did very well with that, so I'm pleased. So those were good, what we call game ball activities, but I wanted to go ahead and show you what had happened. The second page is the Instagram numbers for the same thing. And Instagram's a little less, but in the same token, it still shows measurable results when we use Instagram as a tool in our social media. So the numbers aren't quite as big, but you would not expect them to be that way. Next page is the state tourism 2% tax by the end of March. If you'll scroll down to Carroll County, the county was up 3.55% at the end of March. That looks like a nice number, but this county still has a long way to go because they're still running at a deficit. And I've talked to Joe David Rice about that, and his feelings is that was a hit that in March was not explainable, and he's also concerned about the month of April for the state as a whole. A couple of other things I wanted to show you, and this sheet is a comparison of Midwest Convention and Visitors Bureaus. And we were able to add Eureka Springs in here. And if you kind of take a look at this chart, what it shows is, number one, we'll take Branson, for example. It's the top of the list. They've got 33 full-time employees. They have a $9,500,000 budget, 16,500 rooms. Their budget per hotel is $575. They do have a convention center. The room tax is 4%. The restaurant tax is 0.5%, and their total tax on hotel rooms is 12.6%. We put Eureka Springs down here because it was not originally included, but we went ahead and did the math. We actually only have 6 full-time employees. Our budget's $1.45 million. We have 2,400 rooms. Our bureau budget per hotel room is $604, which is well within the average. Yes, we do have a convention center. Our room tax is 3%. Our restaurant tax is 3%. So we're looking at that tax between 14.375 and 17.375. And then you can take a look at the other Midwest cities like Kansas City and Little Rock and so forth and just see where they're at. But I thought this was good information that you might be fascinated about, just to see where the other cities in our region.
What does that mean, 14,375 to 17,375?
Well, it depends on which hotel you go into, Terry. If you go into a historic hotel, you might be charged some additional tax.
Is it a tax?
It is.
Or is it a resort?
Is it collected by the...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah. It
doesn't go anyplace but the hotel.
Right.
It's not remitted to the state.
Or city or county.
So it's really not a
I don't think they better be calling it a tax.
They do.
What do you call it? I guess this would be a
Historical renovation
you call
fund.
it a surtax
Yeah.
that goes to their property.
So it's not called the resort fee.
No.
That was the nickname?
Historic maintenance fee or something.
Oh, whatever.
Some places have resort fees, yeah.
They do. They do. If you have a resort, take whatever you want.
Right.
Well, I don't know.
The last thing I got in my little bag of tricks here today is our third quarter advertising, what we're doing. It's all in yellow. It goes from July through September. This is all basically wrapping up the third quarter of the year. where our placement's at. You'll notice when we get into August, we're lean, but we're lean because it's lean in terms of collections.
Mike, is this online?
This will be online
Okay,
after
I've
it's
had
published.
2 calls about this already. So.
We have been putting it online right after these reports.
Okay, fantastic.
So, right, you can take a look at those. But
Shouldn't in August, shouldn't we be advertising for the spring? I mean, why is it lean?
Well,
I mean, we may be lean in revenue because August is a soft month, but shouldn't we be
ramping up.
Well, I would think. I mean, we got
Fall and
a lot of things happening in September, October.
We could. I mean, if it's
That's when it happens.
if it's to the
It's
pleasure
a big
of the-
month for us, usually.
if it's to the pleasure of the commission, we can certainly do that. If you feel like we need to go ahead and maybe split.
Well, I mean, when were you going to advertise for the fall, or were
We're
you?
going to start really at the end of August.
At the end of August.
fall is at the
I would be,
I mean, I don't. That's the thing I don't get either. Is I mean, you know,
It's way late.
people have already made plans,
Yeah.
haven't they?
Yeah.
Well, what we can do is, I think we can probably go ahead and take in our budgets
hopefully.
in September,
But if you don't start
peel those back and enhance our television support, which is the best thing to do, and then we can go ahead and take a look, whatever publications that we've got, that we could go ahead and...
would it, and I don't know, would it be advantageous just to have a sheet in here that shows when we're advertising for what, at what time, and then we could at least, or we could just come up with a calendar that makes maybe a little more, I would say we should at least be advertising for whatever month, at least 3 months in advance.
Well, that's what this is.
But you just said you wouldn't advertise for October or whatever until, or fall until end of August.
Well, that was our initial plan, and that's what I've done, but it would not be a real difficult phenomenon to go ahead and ship 35,000 and boost the 6,350 in TV.
But does that only happen in August? Does that only happen in August, where you're only advertising maybe a month and a half in advance, or is that throughout the year?
No, it would be isolated to these 2 months. Because we're spread across fairly evenly with the rest of our months. So, you know, we take our $300,000 and try to parcel it so that there is equivalent advertising based upon what our collections have been over the past 3 years. So it's not going to be a big change to move those, in particular TV, around. And that's the big chunk of our advertising. It does not affect our digital, and it really does not affect our print. But TV, it certainly affects. So that would be easy to do.
I mean, I understand, you know, it's nice to catch the last minute decision maker on what they're going to do, but I think shouldn't we be after the people that are trying to plan ahead?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine.
That have actual vacation dollars that they're, you know, that they dedicated. And,
Sure.
That's
Time that they got a plan to take off.
Yeah, I think that.
I have no problem with that whatsoever. And that would be an easy fix. And it's just a readjustment of the numbers in the third quarter and also a little bit in the fourth quarter. So completely, again, trying to stay underneath our budget parameters.
Right.
So, again, May was our biggest advertising month of the year, and we should be seeing the results of those next month. So it was a big chunk for the month, but again, it's also the month that the state of Arkansas kicks in its initial campaign to go ahead and really blast out messages throughout the region. So this does parallel somewhat with the state of Arkansas.
Are you guys busier in May this year than...
No, it's been a really bad year so far. All of
Okay,
it.
because we
We're not
weren't
getting
either.
full this weekend, and we used to be sold out.
May was not busier than last year, and it was a little less so for us.
It was an off month.
Very well.
I'll have a question.
But that, something associated with that is like, what are we doing to get people here, not only in a certain frame of month, but that Sunday through Thursday of those weeks? That's killing us. It really
Well, our TV
to just
station...
rely on the weekend, then it rains on the weekend, and then we're dead. You know, we got to do something to get people in town during the week.
What we have done is our TV spots run Monday through Friday. So we are basically trying to go ahead and load the weekdays with the most visible spots that we can. If we loaded them all to the
Right during
weekend,
the week, or like to try to get people here during the week, or versus just...
Well, I was thinking too, like, just asking how May was. I mean, because I know we were down in May from last year, and we had the May Festival of Arts. Is that something we might want to look at as far as spreading that out over more than just that month? Instead of doing a whole month blast, doing it, we're an arts community, and, you're doing the music series in Basin Park. So would it, not saying we'd spend less money or whatever, but would that be a different way to look at it rather than dumping it all in 1 month?
well, for instance, the May Festival of the Arts, we started our May Fest advertising April 1.
That's like a month, why even advertise at that point? I already have my plans made for May by April 1.
Sure.
Most people in this day and age research and made their plans by a month out.
But why did cottages and things go up, and then restaurants were down on when you gave us the statistics, those first ones? Restaurants were down. B&Bs are always a little off. We understand that.
Yeah, it's just 1 month.
It's a month.
It's just unusual. But I have thought of a trend. One thing that I did, and I saw somebody else do it, was I give, if it's during the week, Monday through Thursday, I give the third night free.
Yeah,
and you know,
get them here.
You know what? It actually, they booked 2 nights. Of course, you're giving away 1 free, but I was shocked that it helped.
Oh, yeah.
Good, okay. Well, let me get just a consensus of opinion. Would you feel comfortable with a 60-day out promotional?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd rather do 90, but...
I'm in anywhere from 90
It might be
down.
situational, depending on what the event is, too.
Well, we run into a little bit of a problem when we get to the first of the year. When we look at advertising for instance, February is a fairly good month to advertise. But we really don't want to start advertising in the middle of Christmas for February. Now, there are some things that we can do, but I think we have to look maybe at those individuals.
I understand that. Valentine's, you got to get Christmas out of the way. I understand that. But Valentine's,
So like spring break,
but yeah.
when does that start?
Those like
Yeah,
one night, one weekend,
You should be by middle of January. You should.
Right, so I mean, it really
you don't
is
have spring break,
situational. You would need to look at everything and then plan it.
People are, hey, where are we going?
I don't think there could be a blanket.
We started spring break this year in January. So we were out a good 45.
We had more families this year. We did.
So I think there was probably some.
Do we want to review it, or do we want to look at it, or do we want to...
I think it would be good to review and look at it, I mean, month by month, timeline by timeline, because I think, to Mike's point, it's going to be all over the place. And I think to put a plan in place is a good idea. But some things would be more important to start doing in January than others. You wouldn't want to be promoting Valentine's Day in the middle of December.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of other examples. So I think it needs to be looked at and projected out.
Sure.
What is the proper
timeline?
timeline?
Winter, which is February is a part of, in December.
Absolutely.
Like this doesn't end at New Year's.
Right.
We're open.
Right.
We've got Mardi Gras kicking off.
Exactly. Exactly.
So is that a workshop discussion?
Sure.
Okay.
Could be. I think it's nice. Well, I'll make some adjustments to this and give you a preview back on it, and we can, discuss and discuss.
Not in relation to this, but this video stuff, you gave us these scripts and everything. And let's see, let me phrase this carefully. A while back, you showed us some videos that were made Eureka type stuff, and then we had some extraneous conversation that took place after that about the way that flow went, especially on that one. Are you giving us this to show us that that's not going to happen again? Is that what's happening here?
Well, we do 2 different things. The videos that we're trying to produce for Made in Eureka Springs and the long versions are a little bit different than these versions. These are 30-second spots, which are very contained.
Okay, that's a different thing.
Yeah, and that's the television that we utilize throughout the region. We don't use those other types of spots for TV placements. They're only for internet.
Got it.
That's the only place they go.
And these will be on .biz.
Yeah,
They're in production now.
they are. Yeah, in fact, we're shooting
Do
this
they
week.
come up with new things, or are these the same ones? Because this is like the same one that the last I don't know, 7 years of the format of the videos I've seen, where the panoramic over the streetscape, and then people walking down the street in front of Flatiron, which is exactly what this. I mean, it's like the same thing we do on every video. It's like, welcome to Eureka Springs, and then there's a drone footage, and then there's someone looking in a window, and then there's someone doing that, and then there's cheers, people dancing in the park, and Eureka Springs.
Oh, you have
Is there any way to get a little more creative than just doing this? I mean, it's the same thing with the cheesy voice, and these are the people we're paying. You know, this, if this was my employee, I'd be saying, come on, man, bring me something new. You know, I think anybody should maybe put that in their mind that we're not all just, oh, that's great. If you could give that feedback to their creative to say, come on, bring us something new. Can you agree that that's kind of the same script?
Well, yeah, there's some similarities.
We can sit there and watch all the videos over and over, and it'll be pretty much the same thing. Last year, there was a fall ad that had the leaves on the trees with animated foliage. That is not an advertising agency that I think we should be working with. That's just all I have to say. That seeing this, I'm just like, oh, that's a surprise. But that's just my feedback on that. So if this is an advertising agency that we're paying, I think we need to expect or demand some more creativity, because I think we could do this part in-house or just copy what we've been doing. We should be telling more of a story that's interactive, in my opinion, or something like that, especially the way social media has moved where people are more interactive. So
yeah, that's true.
That's just my personal feedback.
It's fine. Good. Okay. Appreciate it. That's all I've got.
Okay.
Commissioners' comments. Bobby?
I don't have any.
No.
Terry?
Yeah, just briefly, on the Windrock Foundation, they made a presentation last weekend at the auditorium. They're doing a study on retail for us, which also will encompass. I mean, it also will tie in lodging and food as well. They're going to. The turnout was poor, and it's, you know, as far as getting the word out, I don't know what else we can do. It goes in the paper, and it gets out every place that we can. They will be back. They're going to be doing some, putting together some surveys that they're going to have cooperation from business owners to help those get completed, you know, so we can get some ideas and numbers and things to really focus on. And so it's kind of coming through the Economic Development Committee, but we got to get. I mean, we need involvement. Yeah, Sandy, you know, needs help in getting the word out and people get involved, because you know, that's a big organization, and they've got a good team put together and trying to help us out, you know. And if we let this opportunity go past, well, you know, we're fools.
What time was that meeting?
Well, I don't know what the next schedule. It was last week.
I know. What time was it, though? Was it?
What time? It was
at 6 o'clock, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Could we
the auditorium.
those into our workshop one time so we could all show up? Maybe that would help. Have the option. I mean.
Well, I don't know when they're coming back, but I mean, we can find out. We just need to stay on top of this and you know, and
how did they
have
get
a
that
presence.
information out? Was it just in the paper,
I
or?
saw the chamber, I think,
I
something out.
can't
We
say.
sent it out. It was
I
in
saw
the
it
newspaper.
today.
Okay.
Right.
I only saw it on the newspaper.
Yeah.
In the newspaper.
They were very sharp. They know what they're doing. And we also are bringing on a guy named Jeff Salser from the Small Business Administration. He's going to start attending our meetings, which is real positive, because he wants to go ahead and help grow Eureka Springs in some good areas. So I think we're going to be, you know, looking at some great opportunities for economic growth. So not just for tourism, but I think in terms of the overall workforce in Eureka Springs and what new job opportunities might avail themselves. So it was exciting to hear somebody say, we want to bring 200 jobs to Eureka Springs.
Sure.
I hadn't heard that in a long time.
Happy when someone says they want to bring 200 people to Eureka Springs.
I would gather. Yeah.
And at this time, I would like to thank Susan, this commission, for voting me in as the chairman. It is a role that I took on, not really putting much thought into it, because I was nominated for it and quickly voted on. In retrospect, I feel like I am not the best suited. Due to my time constraints, I'm a working owner, putting in more hours than I care to, and kind of doing the back history and learning the law and all of the finite pieces that make this position what it is are things that I'm not just willing to take on right now. So at this time, I am officially stepping down as the chairman of the commission. I would like to retain a seat and move forward in that direction.
Thank you, Ken.
You're welcome.
So how do you handle that? Do you handle it this meeting, or just wait to another one, or you're going to...
We need to vote a new chairperson in next meeting.
So you're still stuck for a while. You step down, but you're
I'm
still...
stuck, but I don't have the extra responsibility.
Yeah. But you're still holding it.
I'm holding my seat, yes, sir.
You're holding the seat
You
until
betcha.
it's done. That's what I wanted to see.
Are you willing to do it now, or?
If he's going to hold the
I
seat...
think I have a couple more years, so we'll see.
But, I mean, if we have another meeting the next time, you're holding that chair and doing those duties until we have the next
I
meeting?
will, if I must. Yes, sir.
I'm just asking.
Absolutely, yes. I'm not going to leave us.
I'm not trying to dictate it
No,
to you.
no.
I just didn't know if there was going to be a month of nothing. I'm just...
Right.
I think what I'd like for you to do is to go ahead and consider who might be an appropriate chairperson. And that will give us an opportunity to go ahead and make that vote.
And I can begin, and they can certainly step right in at the next meeting.
I want to make one comment about that, and that is that
Yeah.
I don't mind, filling in as needed, and that's fine, but I don't think David or I, as city councilmen, should be the chairman. I don't think we should.
100%. It's
So
too
I
much
will
of a
sit in this
conflict.
seat until I am no longer needed, but as soon as possible, I would really like to step down from that
So would you
role.
like to see that on the next meeting?
As soon as possible.
We could put on the next agenda to elect the chair.
Thank
It'd
you.
be fine.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
And, I'm sorry, when will Carol,
She's got to get, Carol,
Right.
well, it'll be the next meeting, which is whatever it is, the 20, whatever it is.
so she would be able to make the next meeting?
Next meeting's
Should.
Because it's Monday, and then,
The workshop,
it'll be a
she should.
workshop on it. Okay.
Yeah, we've got to do, the next thing we have is workshop. Yeah, we've got to vote her in at our next council
It's
meeting.
going to be a month, no matter how you say
Vote her
it.
in,
That's just how it
and then
works.
she's in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second.
Aye.
Aye.
Adios.
Now you can take your microphone.